Good evening and welcome. My name is John Harrison, and I am the principal of Rockland High School. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the Academic Hall of Fame and Underclassmen Awards ceremony this evening. Last week, we as a school community honored the class of 2022 as they held their Senior Academic and Athletic Awards Night and graduation. Tonight is an opportunity to celebrate the achievements of the underclassmen and recognize 4 amazing adults who graduated from Rockland High School. Academic success is our primary focus, and this night is a wonderful way since it gives us the opportunity to recognize those students who've thrived in the classroom and as leaders in our school community. We have a lot to be proud of in Rockland, as our students' high level of growth and achievement is extraordinary. We have students thriving in the classroom, taking our most rigorous course offerings, including our advanced placement college-level courses as high school students. Many of our students have participated in extracurricular life, participating in Bulldog Buddies, Environmental Club, Images, to name a few. Our students have excelled in the arts this year, contributing to an amazing arts festival in May. And our music students performed in Broadway Night, Holiday Concert, Shrek the Musical, and we also performed in a memorial service in Veterans Day Parade this year. Our athletics had a phenomenal year. Our students have proven to be outstanding competitors on the field, on the court, in the pool, and on the ice. We also won Super Bowl championships in football and a state championship in cheerleading. Tonight, we will take the time to honor the underclassmen who've excelled at Rockland High School, but we also will induct 4 Rockland High School alums into the Academic Hall of Fame. We have not had this event since 2019. This really is a special night where we have the opportunity to celebrate the past and the present. I just have a few special introductions before we move forward with the programming tonight. I have Mr. Dan Biggins, School Committee, here tonight. Mr. Dan Biggins, can we clap for him? Miss Jill Maroney, School Committee. Miss Emily Davidson, School Committee. And Dr. Alan Cron, Superintendent. There'll be other introductions later in the evening. A special thank you to Ms. Mal Cotton, who's taken the lead in the planning of the Hall of Fame portion of the evening. So thank you to Ms. Lannon Cotton. At this point, I'd like to introduce Dr. Cron, our superintendent, to say a few welcoming remarks.
I will be very, very brief, but I just want to congratulate the inductees, and I'd like to congratulate the students. This is an incredibly special evening. There are some people in the room, I know for those of you who are students, you're looking around, you may not know who all of these people are, but there are some very, very important people in the room today. And believe it or not, they are here to celebrate you and to celebrate why we're all here. This is a very special school community, and this is a very special night. So without further ado, let's get on with it. But I just wanted to say congratulations to the students, congratulations to the inductees, and congratulations to the families and parents. I know that these students would not be here thriving and succeeding without you. My daughter just graduated on Sunday, so I am just as overjoyed as each of you, and proud and hopeful. So thank you, have an extraordinary evening, and congratulations.
I'm also going to introduce Mr. Dan Biggins, Chairman of the School Committee, who will say a few words.
So they call it Rockland for a reason, right? Anybody kept a garden around here would know that it's a little bit difficult to grow crops or grow plants here in Rockland due to the nature of the soil. But what we do grow around here is fine human beings. Over the course of the last week, we've been able to bear witness to the beginnings of that success. Last week, we were here together and watched students earn scholarships. We watched them win personal awards and the ultimate achievement through Rockland schools to then eventually graduate from Rockland High School. What we're able to see tonight here is our underclassmen being recognized for your achievements, and great job, guys. This is really sort of the beginning step. As Dr. Cron had mentioned, there is a lot of really special people that are in the crowd here tonight, many of them that sat in seats just like yours, and then grew up to achieve and graduate from Rockland High School, but then to come back and to give back to this town and create buildings like that you're sitting in right now and that are being built right behind us right here. So you're on the very beginning steps, guys, kids, on an incredibly wonderful journey. And you're going to see the fruition of it in some of the presentations this evening. Congratulations to all of you. It's an honor to be here with you. In many cases, I admire you. Thank you very much.
And at this point, we're going to begin the Hall of Fame portion of the evening. Ms. Mal Cotton will begin the presentations.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. We have a couple of very special guests that I want to recognize. You can just wave to us. Mr. A. Scott McKinley, who a lot of you guys know, is here. Former principal. And sitting beside him is Mr. Dick Phelps, former school committee chairman, long time. And Mr. Phelps is also a member of the Hall of Fame, so he's here doubly. Okay, for our first presentation tonight, and we have some good ones here, we want to recognize a man who is responsible, really, for this evening. That is Mr. Joseph Weisgerber, Jr., who is really the founder of our Rockland High School Academic Hall of Fame. For 35 years, Mr. Weisgerber spent his career at Rockland High School as a math teacher, coach, guidance counselor, and director of the guidance department. Mr. Weisgerber passed away on January 31st of this year at the age of 90. In 1988, just to give you a little history, Mr. Weisgerber contacted Mr. McKinley, then principal of Rockland High, to kick around an idea about honoring alumni who had achieved academic success once they had graduated. Rockland High already had an athletic Hall of Fame. Bulldog pride then as now was intense. However, the academic success of students often took second place. Mr. McKinley loved Mr. Weisgerber's idea and asked Joe to run with it. He really did. He organized a committee of teachers, community people, and alumni, and figured out how to get the project going and how to keep it going. The Academic Hall of Fame was, and still is, one of the very few in our area. Tonight, in fact, we will honor our 100th inductee to the Hall of Fame. Mr. Weisgerber was on the Hall of Fame committee right up until our last induction in 2019, and he is himself an honorary member of the Hall. And by the way, Mr. McKinley, you're also an honorary member of the Hall, and I shouldn't forget that, because you certainly deserve to be. Mr. Weisgerber's impact on so many of his former students, including myself, which is why I keep calling him Mr. Weisgerber, is felt to this day. I'd like to recognize his wife, Mary Lee Weisgerber, wife 64 years. And I'd like to call up Mr. Weisgerber's son, Steve, a teacher at Marshfield High School, a 1978 graduate of Rockland High, and also a Hall of Fame member, to say a few words about his dad.
Thank you all. It's good to be back home. Congratulations to Rita and to Gina and to Kate and to Ken for being inducted into the Academic Hall of Fame. Our dad had many homes growing up. He was the youngest child of immigrants. He came of age during the Great Depression, World War II, and the 1950s. He was the first in his family to be college educated. He served in the United States Air Force. He survived polio. He raised a family in the 1960s, a difficult thing. In many ways, his story was a story of this country. As a history teacher, he was my own personal textbook for the 20th century. He was not old enough to be part of the greatest generation, like his siblings, and he was too old to be a baby boomer, like his kids, but he was sort of a great boomer. Born would literally face the challenges that we all still have a hard time understanding. He took his talents and drive and made the most of his opportunity to have a better life than his parents, and later was happy to give his family a chance for even more than he had. When he married my mom, they moved to Rockland. Mom, like her father and mother, my sister and brother, was raised and schooled in Rockland. My grandfather graduated from Rockland High School in 1918. My grandmother graduated from Rockland High School in 1923. And my mom graduated in 1953. We go back a long time. We're all given this wonderful community of Rockland to call home. However, Dad adopted Rockland and made it his permanent home. He started as a math teacher and a coach, eventually becoming the director of guidance. He had an impact on thousands of students over his 35 years in Rockland. But in actuality, he was adopted by Rockland and embraced by you all. He loved his adopted home in a different way than those of us who were raised here. He loved Rockland and truly appreciated it. He loved the students and the people that he worked with. He loved his lifelong friendships, Mr. Phelps, Mr. McKinley, and in turn, they loved him back. As his children, we saw this when we were students at the high school and for years in the community. When he celebrated his 90th birthday, we floated an idea that he would love to receive birthday cards. Over the course of that month, he received close to 300 cards from friends and former students. When he passed away, the words of condolences included personal accounts of the advice and unconditional self-regard that he gave to his students. For us, it revealed a life well lived. The Academic Hall of Fame held a special spot for him. He felt it was important to recognize those that took all that Rockland High School offered and made the most of their talents. He was a teacher and counselor to so many of the inductees. He was a colleague and friend to many others. He truly appreciated what they had done and how they used their gift and hard work for good. While he would have disagreed with me, I see the mission of the Hall of Fame and the characteristics of the inductees, those four tonight, as a reflection of him. Like those honored over the years, he was a lifelong learner and achiever, ever enthusiastic and always curious. He always was giving back more and did things to make the world a better place. I'm reminded of Robert Kennedy's speech in 1966 when he said that few of us have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of all these acts will be written the history of this generation. And that's how I see the people, the 100 people who are in the Hall of Fame. My dad's inspiration was to recognize Rockland High School graduates who stood up for, as RFK said, an ideal or acted to improve the lot of others. In many ways, Dad's accomplishments, like so many others in this room, students and parents and inductees and teachers and retirees, have been to send out that tiny ripple of hope to make the world a better place. Looking at the lives led by the inductees, they have left a much better and much more hopeful world. This is what my dad envisioned in recognizing Rockland High School graduates and its honorary members. This is how he lived his life. He always loved this evening and would have wanted you to know how proud he was of his adopted home. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about my dad, and congratulations to all of you, young and old. Thank you.
I'd now like to call up Mr. Fred Damon to induct our first inductee, okay? That was redundant. Don't do that in your writing, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Before I start, I'd just like to take one quick moment to echo some of the things that were said up here in my Dean of Student role. For our future graduates that are sitting in front of us that have attained, obviously, a high academic success, I want you to appreciate tonight. I am finishing my 31st year of teaching, and I cannot believe where it went. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out a couple of things when I was sitting in those chairs. There are two people here and a family here that had a tremendous impact on my life. And I think it's important that when you guys get older, you recognize that. Mr. Joseph Weisgerber was the head of guidance when I was a senior. I did not have Mr. Weisgerber as my guidance counselor, but Mr. Weisgerber, I'll never forget it, when I was going through a college process, and we know how stressful that can be, came up to me and said, "Fred, BC, BC, BC." And I had not really thought about it, but he pushed me in that direction, and I'm proud to say, because of Mr. Weisgerber, I did apply for it and get into BC. Quite an honor for me, quite an honor for my family, but as Steve just alluded to, his passion for his students was second to none. So I would thank Mr. Weisgerber, his wife Mary Jo, Steve, Peter, and Carol. Tremendous, tremendous man. Typical Rockland guy. The other two, Mr. Dick Phelps and Mr. Scott McKinley, continue to be mentors of me. They have had a tremendous impact. Mr. McKinley will be absolutely livid with me that I am talking about him, but he continues to have a huge impact on me. I can remember when I was a senior in the hallway and that bell would ring, Mr. McKinley's voice would be, "Damon, get in the room." I can still remember it. And Mr. Phelps, not enough can be said about the Phelps family and what they've done for this town. But I thank them as well for being tremendous mentors to me. And I would not be where I am without them. But I think it should be said, because you guys are going to be in that position one day, and up here and thanking Mr. Damon one time. So that's going to be tremendous for me. And Miss Lana Cotton did not mention I am also a member of the Academic Hall of Fame. Thanks, Mel. That's the second time you forgot about me tonight. Okay. I am here tonight to induct a person that I've had the privilege and the honor of working with for probably approximately the last 15 to 20 years, and that is Miss Kathleen Paulding. And also had the privilege of working with her mom during my first 5 years at the middle school, Kay Paulding. I'm going to read what's written about Kathy, so if she doesn't like it, she can't be mad at me. I will add some of my Mr. Damon ad-lib, as you well know it's coming. Miss Kathleen Paulding graduated from Rockland High School in 1990. At RHS, she was involved in many activities in sports, both as a player and as a manager. Her chosen field in college was education. Not a big surprise, since Kathy is a third-generation teacher in the Rockland school system. Appreciate how unique we are. How many people from Rockland come back and give to this system because of how much it meant to them. Kathy and her family is a perfect example of that. Kate Paulding, Kathy's mother, spent her career in Rockland teaching elementary school. Kate is here tonight looking on with pride for her daughter's achievements, and understandably so. Like many other students, it took real determination for Kathy to achieve her dream. Obstacles included learning disabilities and at times discouragement by teachers stepped in her way. However, Kathy had goals and planned to achieve them. She worked hard and became a social studies teacher at Rockland High School. She also has earned 2 master's degrees. Not bad with someone who was struggling with school at one point. That does not surprise me. Rockland blood runs deep through our veins. I always say, you know a Rockland person when they're cut, the first time you see their blood, it's blue. We bleed it through. Her determination I have seen a number of times. As a matter of fact, as a teacher, Kathy had great understanding of modified instructional needs. Kathy was invaluable to the special education department as an inclusion teacher, where she worked as a team with regular subject teachers to ensure the success of any students with special needs who were assigned to that class. I can attest to that because Kathy worked with me as the SPED teacher in several of our math classes. We did that for about 6 or 7 years before she moved on, and she was tremendous. We had tremendous success with our students in that because of Kathy's love and care. After several years, Kathy was called upon with her pal Sharon and several other teachers and counselors to develop an alternative education program for students who were in need of small group inclusion with specialized instruction and an on-site counseling component. Project Rebound was born. For those of you who don't know that, Project Rebound took place at Jefferson School many years ago, where we had students who were struggling in mainstream classes and went there to achieve success and eventually graduate. Not an easy job. While providing structure, behavioral guidance, high academic expectations, and counseling, many students achieved academic and personal success. Again, it takes a special person to be involved with a program like that, but Kathy's love for Rockland, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that she would take the helm of that. While at the high school, Kathy has coached several sports. Her positive attitude and teaching techniques earned endeared her to her athletes, who called her Polo as a nickname. This nickname, used with respect, has carried over into the activities that Kathy has continued to participate in. After Kathy returned to high school and took on the role of Dean of Students and worked with that great mentor for her, Mr. Damon, because of her connection with students on many levels, special education, history, Project Rebound. Kathy, was good in this role, and when the position was open, she decided to go for the role of assistant principal. Kathy is extremely dedicated to the students at Rockland High School, and she can be counted on by many students by her support. Many students. Her will to continue to encourage students who may not have the best of situations to succeed is a skill that few have. And I have seen it on many occasions, day in and day out. Kathy's life has also been enriched by her adopted son, Tommy, who is gaining his own success thanks to Kathy and her nurturing. I call it spoiling, but we'll call it nurturing. Kathy's personal success can be attributed to persistence, goal setting, and strength, i.e., bulldog. Her professional success can be credited to her foresight in the development and carrying through of the policy, compassion with students, and acceptance and tolerance of students and staff. That's what I talked about when I said her blood runs blue. Kathy, for all of your accomplishments, past, present, and future, we induct you to the Rockland High School Academic Hall of Fame with pride, Miss Kathleen Paulding. When she gets closer, we can do another clap. Otherwise, that awkward moment of silence would be too much. I know, the long way. I would have made fun if you took the long way.
So the funny thing about all of this is that, yes, I'm on the Hall of Fame committee, but they didn't tell me I was being inducted. I found out about 10 minutes ago. So I'm a little off guard and I have nothing prepared, but I think it's good to speak to you guys from my heart, where I usually keep most of you. This place is very special to me. You, my students, are very special to me. Mr. Damon talked about the struggles that I had as a student. I had a learning disability, and I wasn't diagnosed until my freshman year. And so it's visual tracking. I flip letters around and all kinds of stuff like that. It's sometimes fun to read out loud. So I apologize in advance because I think I'm presenting a little later. But, you know, at that point, I was told that I couldn't go to college because I had a learning disability, and that wasn't an option for me. My mother and my father and my family supported me and told me that that wasn't necessarily true, and that if I just kept working at it, I'd figure it out because I was smart. I just couldn't spell. Thankfully, I took that advice and worked hard to get into a college and achieve my goals. So, you know, I was very grateful to do that, and I was thrilled to be able to come back to be here in Rockland and to be able to see the students that in the town that I love continue to succeed. I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention like the ancestry, I guess you could say, that I have in town as a third-generation teacher. My grandmother, who I never met, Cecilia Burke, was a teacher at Memorial Park. My mother, Kate Paulding, also taught at Memorial Park and at the middle school. One of the blessings that you have as your parents get older is you get to see them in different lights. My mom is struggling with Alzheimer's, dementia, and so that's something that I get to enjoy at some level, which sounds crazy, I know. But she's happy, she's joyous, and laughs a lot, and it's almost like seeing her as a child, which is kind of like a cool experience if you look at it the right way. So I'm very blessed to have that opportunity. I'm also very blessed to have Tommy in my life, and that's another aspect of, I think, the bulldog mentality. Sometimes life doesn't work out the way you want it to. I always wanted to have children, and it just didn't happen the traditional way. And so I decided that doesn't mean I can't do it. I'm from Rockland, I can do whatever I want. And so I went through the process and was able to so blessed to have Tommy agree to let me be his mom. And so we have a lot of fun together. And I'm already warning the staff when he gets up here, I'm sorry. The sarcasm comes from me. So the other thing I do want to mention just very quickly, because Mr. Harrison's going to kill me, is, as I said, this was a secret. So Mr. Harrison was kind of giving me a hard time that, like, you know, we're doing this big ceremony. We got the Celtics on tonight. This thing's going to take forever. Why do we have to do this at the same night that the kids are there? And I said, because growing up in Rockland, sometimes when you were a kid, people in the surrounding communities said, you're just a kid from Rockland. And we are never just a kid from Rockland. We are a kid from Rockland, and we can do whatever we want and take on whatever challenges come our way, and you will be successful because you're from Rockland. And that means that you've been through some stuff. I modded, did you see that? My potty mouth, I kept it under control. And you've been through some things in life, but you made it through because you're from Rockland and you can do it. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to induct our next Hall of Famer, Regina Gardner Milan. Did I do it right? Usually it takes me a week when I was a teacher to get the names right, but anyway. Regina Gardner Milan is obviously from the class of 1979. I say obviously because her sister is also from the class of 1979, and they're twins. But anyway, we're going to start with Regina. Her career is multifaceted. As you will see, she owns a graphic design company, is a professor at UMass Lowell, and is also an accomplished painter, particularly of botanical art. Don't let me skip ahead. Okay. It all started here at Rockland High School, of course. She was on the staff of the yearbook and took every art class the high school offered. She was most influenced, told me, by her art teacher, Diane Carcady, who encouraged her to go to college and major in painting. A year later, they agreed she should switch to a design major, which was fortuitous to say the least. After Regina received a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in visual design from UMass Dartmouth, she went on to get a master's degree from BU in graphic design. In 1988, she founded her own design firm, Mylan Concept and Design. At that time, in 1988, she was in the forefront of the digital and technological revolution. Regina designed digital typefaces, in fact, for the first Apple computers. Mylan is an award-winning design firm with many well-known clients, such as Verizon, Samsung, Fidelity, American Airlines, just to really name a few. 20 years into her very successful design career, Regina was encouraged to get into education, an idea she at first said no to. But she decided to give it a try. She is now associate professor, teaching upper levels of typography, motion graphics, graphic design, and senior studio at UMass Lowell. There, she revamped the graphic design curriculum and is today the program coordinator for the graphic design department. She says she's not sure when she'll retire, but when she does, she'll focus on her painting, which she has also been quite successful with. In 2003, she was encouraged by her sister Dorothy to take a botanical illustration class. From there, she received a certificate of botanical illustration in 2007 from the Society of Botanical Artists in London, England. She's exhibited in many juried shows, including in the Royal Horticultural Society show in London, among many, many others. Her first solo show was in 2019 at the Arnold Arboretum at Harvard University. There she exhibited 12 to 14 large format paintings and watercolors. Regina lives in Brewster, Mass. With her husband, Neil. They have two sons, Sean and Matthew, who both are college graduates and successful in their chosen fields. Regina Gardner Mylan, for all your successes, past, present, and future, we induct you as the 100th member of the Rockland High School Academic Hall of Fame. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Regina. I actually thought I'd be in a very small room. I'm used to small rooms teaching about 20 people, so this is a lot of people for me to talk to. Madeline told you about my background, so let's hear it for art students. Anybody that tells you. Anyone that tells you you can't make a living at art should look at their phone or their screen or the logo on the shirt they have, or their logo on their sneakers, or the design of those sneakers, or the design on the pattern of that shirt. Art is everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And I teach students that are typically first generation and highly successful. Steve Jobs said at his graduation speech to Stanford that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. And that has really struck me. I don't consider myself an academic. I am very good at art. I love it. I love to learn. I love to read. But you have to trust that all these classes you take are going to connect. And they will when you look back, as I am 40 years later. And I would be remiss not to talk about my parents. My father, and it's not lost on me, cleaned the floors of this school. He was a custodian. He was a bus driver. He was a truant officer. What most people didn't know is he spent 3 years at Notre Dame until World War II, and he was part of the greatest generation. And he believed in education, as did my mother. I'm not going to read this entire list, but for those of you that are sending your first or second child to college, my parents sent 14 to college, and 5 of us have masters. So we were true believers in education and the foundation that Rockland schools gave us. And There's just a wide range there. We do many different things. Find your thing. And then find your why. People will say, if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. I call BS on that. Work is work. It is absolutely work. It is hard work if you want to do something well. It doesn't mean you can't like it. It doesn't mean you can't love it. But it is work. That's why they call it that. Work supports a life. So this is my life. This is my studio. This is where I work most of the time. And down in the corner are my children, my daughter-in-law, and my husband. That is my why. That is why I work. Then find a support system. Find your support system. I was lucky enough to marry a man that was not afraid to say to his wife, sure, start a business. Sounds fun. Buy the first Apple Macintosh that cost $20,000 for the whole system. Get yourself a twin. And if you can't get a twin, get a really good friend that's going to poke you and needle you and tell you to do what you need to do, because that's what you need. We were there for each other nonstop. We have 5 boys between us who are all very successful. And then get a family like mine. Your brother Jerry that helps you buy your first house. Your brother Steve that helps you write your business resume. Your sister Kathy that helps you with whatever you need. Annie, who's your favorite cheerleader. And then I would be remiss, Dorothy, who was an artist, who I looked at her paintings when I was growing up, and I was in awe of her. And we spent so much time traveling together, showing in shows together. She got me back into painting in 2003. Here at Rockland, I didn't connect the dots until so much later in life. Diane Carcady was an incredible teacher, an incredible mentor, and I actually mentor students like she mentored me. She was honest. We had an outstanding class of students. Robin, sorry, there's a bad break in your name. I just remember thinking to myself, I'm just not that good. And she said to me once, and I don't think she'll probably remember because I got a B+. And she said to me once, you're good enough. You're good enough to do this. You should do this. And that's what I did. I had students that I went to Cooper Union and to Pratt and to all these amazing schools. But then I had Mr. Meyer. I had Miss Lannon for English. Take every English class you can. You need to learn to write and communicate. Mr. Quist for earth science. I didn't know how much I would love science. And then Mr. Fisher, I took a business class from, and that was really helpful in my thinking about starting a business. I wasn't too afraid. In my early career, I worked for a couple of ad agencies. I lost my jobs. It was kind of a joke in the family that I got laid off because of advertising. If you lose the account, you lose your job. Learn to fail gracefully. You are going to fail. There is nothing wrong with failing. It is fine. Just keep going. And then learn from everyone. I have always been such a sponge, and I love to learn. I sat in classes at BU when I learned to teach better of every teacher that taught in our program so I could get better. And use your experience. Madeline said a lot about my company. These are some of the companies I've done work for. I was lucky enough to get into digital really early. I worked for a lot of the dot-coms. It was really fun. These are some of the things I did. This was for cloud computing, before there was cloud computing. This is for Verizon, somebody I still work for. I worked for AOL. This is for the first digital camera. So I know you all have a phone and it has a digital camera, but I worked on the first digital camera collateral. My thesis was based on the idea how twins change in their DNA, and I looked at design about that way. These are some of slices of some of my paintings. And then when I started to teach, I learned I had something to give back. It is great to teach when you've done something for 25 years. I learned that everything has changed, everything went digital. And my goals at UMass Lowell, and they have been the same for the 10 years I've been there, is to engage students with curriculum that secures them jobs. In 2017, we were named #1 in the country for art schools for return on investment. That was so important for us. I mentor many first-generation students. I tell them to be kind, to be honest, because honestly, that is all that matters. And that was redundant, sorry. But you know, kindness is not overrated. There's no cost in kindness. And when you get secure, like I did and financially, find a way to give back. Find the meaning that you can give back to people. Go on and mentor people. And I think that has been the most important part of my career, is giving back. It's been really important to me. In a minute, my twin is going to come up here, and she is far more successful than I am. But I'd like to share a secret with you. She is currently a CEO of a company called Melmark. It's a school, and they work with special needs students, pretty severe students, autistic, some brain injured. And they're building a school in PA, and it's an $18 million school. And it's kind of a secret, but I'm going to let you in on it. That school is going to be named the Rita M. Gardner School of Education. So I want to congratulate her and let her take the stage, because she'll do a better job than I did. Thank you, everyone. There we go.
Hi, it's me again. This time I need my glasses. Rita Gardner, like her sister Regina, graduated from Rockland High School in 1979. After she graduated from Rockland High School, Rita attended UMass Dartmouth, receiving her bachelor's degree in psychology. She went on and earned her Master's of Public Health degree from Boston University's School of Public Health. She majored in behavioral sciences and the Health Services Administration. Rita's work has always focused on her passion to better the lives of children and adults with disabilities. In particular, children and adults with autism and brain injuries. After working in various residential programs, Rita was recruited in 1998 by the CEO of Melmark to work for them in Pennsylvania. From 1998 to 2015, Rita served as Executive Director of Melmark New England, and in 2015, she became the President and CEO of Melmark. Melmark is a multi-state, nationally recognized provider of special education, clinical and consultation services, vocational training, and adult day and residential programs in service to children and adults with autism spectrum disorder and other neurological disorders. She now leads the operations and management of Melmark Services Division in New England, Pennsylvania, and the Carolinas. With Rita as CEO, Melmark has been named to the Commonwealth Institute's list of top 100 women-led businesses in Massachusetts for the past 3 years. Just recently, Rita was named the winner of the Financial Strength category and the overall winner of the CBIZ Incorporated's Women Transforming Businesses Award. Rita lives in Andover, Mass. With her husband, Frank Bird. They have 3 sons, Tyler, Samuel, and Noah Gardner Bird. Tyler and Samuel are both college graduates, and Noah just graduated from high school and is headed to BU in the fall. Rita M. Gardner, class of 1979, for all your successes, past, present, and future, we induct you as a member of the Rockland High School Academic Hall of Fame. That's it. Okay. I know, I'm trying, I'm confused. You confuse me now. Congratulations. You're gonna do fine. You know, public speaking. You're fine.
All right, first of all, you can see my twin has the technology skills, so, and she kind of took my thunder with some of the family stuff, more than a little of it, but we're not competitive at all. So I first want to thank Mr. Weisgerber for starting this. Gina and I spent many, many afternoons at the Weisgerber house with Carol, and it was a great joy to be part of their family, I think. I actually forgot when Madeline reminded me that I was the captain of the cheerleading squad. I was like, wow. And recently, my son, who plays professional hockey, wrote an editorial for a sports writer for Mother's Day that said, "I am the loudest woman in the rink." So I guess I still have that cheerleading thing, as well as gymnastics. And then, Mr. McKinley, thank you for your work at the high school for so many years. I like to think I was never in the principal's office for anything but good things. Not really sure, but since my sons are here, let's just make sure we say that. And I wanted to reiterate just a couple of things real quick before I get started, and I'm going to be a little shorter than Gina, is that I was recently at a funeral, actually yesterday morning. I haven't been down in Rockland in a while. And people talked at the thing that Rockland is just an ordinary town. Rockland's not just an ordinary town. We come through Rockland with many different lives. My father was a janitor. We had food insecurity. We had clothing insecurity. But we lived a valued life on the Christian values at Holy Family that made a difference. Those values have been the backbone of my career. I have a son who graduated from Phillips Andover. And he talked about, you know, when you graduate and you have these skills, it doesn't matter if you serve a nonprofit. It doesn't matter if you run a high-scale business. What matters is if you give back to your community. And Joe and Scott have given back to their community for 6 decades. So I want to thank them for doing this. I'm always very proud to come from Rockland. As a first-generation college graduate, I came from barely getting through high school. Okay, I did pretty good in high school. But getting to college, it was tough for us to go to college. It was like 6 of us in college at that time, 4 of us in undergrad and 2 of us in grad on a janitor's salary. And unusually, this last year during COVID, I was asked to give a keynote about women in leadership. And the first woman I met in leadership was my mother. And she taught me everything I know. We're the little ones, the twins, and that's only 13 of us. My mother was pregnant at the time because it was, we were all going off to Easter church. Phyllis was my inspiration. She told me, she passed on to me the can't walk by gene. And if you ask what that means, it means I can't walk by. If I see something, an injustice, I can't walk by. And you know what I love about this generation? You guys can't walk by either. You believe in social justice, you believe in equity, you believe we should all be equal. And I can't wait to see what your generation will do. For me, that's been meaning starting Melmark. From the time I can remember being part of the church, I volunteered with children with profound disabilities. Those children couldn't speak, some of them couldn't walk, and some of them had medical fragility. But I always just saw them as my friends. I have been serving children with disabilities since I was Liddy, about 6 or 7 years old. And not the kind that are in learning disability programs, but the children who can't come to our schools and the public schools. These are the children who fail up to Melmark. Very often, they've been in 5 other programs, they've been in state institutions, they've been in locked units. And so one of my things is about how do women leadership make a difference? So we really talk about how women get to lead the table, how we get to run organizations. I will tell you my passion is taking care of others or supporting others. And I think that that makes female leadership a little bit different. In 2020, only 7% of Fortune 500 companies were represented by women, and only 1 black woman. And before that, it was 5 years prior that there was a black woman who ran a Fortune 100 company, and that was a temporary thing. That continues today and continues to move on in terms of leadership by women. I would tell you that all female leaders should look to raise themselves up and to raise others with them, and I think it's the most important thing we can tell young women. Unlike Gina, I actually have a pretty quiet voice, and I really struggle. Oh, Neil, don't laugh. In work I did, but finding my voice in my professional setting took a lot, and I thank a lot to my husband, Frank Bird, who's our Chief Clinical Officer, who's here tonight. Melmark is known on a national scale for serving the most challenging children in the United States. We serve children from 25 states. We serve from birth to 82, and we never closed our schools during COVID, even though our children cannot mask. We never closed our group homes. We never closed our adult programs. You want to get tired during pandemic? Run long-term care settings. We never closed. Every governor in every state ordered us open. As female CEOs of the nonprofit sector, anybody who's over 50 million, there's only 14% of us. But the workforce is 75% women in nonprofits. Melmark is a $125 million nonprofit with 1,400 employees. And so what I want to teach women is that you can go up that ladder and you can run whatever you want. You just have to lead from the front of the room. And my final slide is the confidence. When Madeline said I had to give a speech, I said, no, I like to work from the back of the room. My job is to grind it out in the back of the room, and that's Rockland. We grind it out in the back of the room, and we make sure we make a difference. And I've learned over the past 7 years as being CEO at a national level that sometimes you got to get to the front of the room and lead the table. And I am very proud to say, on behalf of the children and the adults that I serve, over these past 5 years, we've raised $60 million for children who can't talk, for adults who can't talk. During the pandemic, they were given a $21.5 million gift that I thought I'm like, that's a Harvard-level gift. Children with disabilities don't get those gifts. They don't get top-notch schools. They don't get beautiful facilities because we don't fund them. We don't have building money from the state for our publicly funded special ed schools. We raise every single dime. In the Carolinas, where we opened, which is probably the proudest thing I will do in my career, children don't get special ed. They get what's called homebound instruction. They get 2 hours of tutoring a week if they have any serious difficulties, and that's called their public education. There are 1,200 children in North Carolina who are homebound, who do not get public education. The vast majority of those children are children of color. This is the United States, not the 1960s. So when you leave Rockland, you lift somebody else up. You tell them where you came from. You let them know that you will lead the future, that social justice started in a little town on the South Shore. And you make sure you give back, because all of us got through this. We have the values. We're not an ordinary community. We're an extraordinary community. Go do something with it.
I'd like to call up Nick LaCorey, our Hall of Fame committee, to introduce the next inductee.
Good evening. Congratulations to all the inductees and all the underclassmen and their awards later on tonight. Ken Grohe graduated from Rockland High School in the class of 1985. At RHS, he was a member of the National Honor Society, and as a senior, received the Joseph Dunn Award, which is given to the top student-athlete football player. In addition, he was voted Senior Superlative Best Mannered, edging out fellow senior and good friend Jim Ridd. Ken grew up on Nevin Circle, later Church Street, worked at a variety of jobs, and always maintained an entrepreneurial spirit and willingness to jump at an opportunity. Upon graduating from Rockland, Ken headed to Boston College, to which he received academic and financial scholarships. While at BC, Ken started the Marketing Academy. To this day, is still the largest student-run organization on campus. Ken also won the Hutchinson Award for the top business students among over 2,200 graduating seniors. In 1989, Ken graduated from BC with a 3.7 GPA and immediately joined a new startup company called EMC, based out of Hopkinton, Mass. He was employee number 110 of the startup company, which eventually grew to have over 65,000 employees. Ken ascended to become vice president and general manager of the cloud business and was there for 25 years, hiring over 2,000 people into a high technology careers. Ken worked in the tech industry as an energetic innovator in each venture he has come across. He started Verident to help LinkedIn be the platform for business professionals to hire and connect with each other. He then joined Barracuda to provide web filters for over 165,000 schools to help keep web content clean and G-rated for students. He also founded Sign Now as a top-rated e-signature company that is used by more than 6 million people daily. In all, a summary of Ken's 33 career in the technology, multiple startups. He's helped EMC provide storage for the internet, helped Google index the internet, helped LinkedIn boost its adoption rate, helped Barracuda Networks keep the web safe at public schools, created this Sign Now e-signature, helped Zoom get its first customers, helped Moderna and Pfizer get their vaccines out, and helped Tesla leverage AI for autonomous driving. Not to be unknown, some of his peers and colleagues say that Ken treats all members of his team with respect and works to help the team succeed. Another said, Ken taught me how to win big deals, win as a manager, not also, but also how to win at life through what a good human he is all around. As a father to his beautiful daughters, a pillar in his community, a leader to his team, and the best mentor I could ever ask for me. In 2018, Ken Grohe and his wife, Annie, established the Grohe Family Scholarship at Rockland High School. To this day, they've granted 2 to 4 $2,000 scholarships. Understanding firsthand, Ken acknowledges that Rockland kids often have to work full-time jobs to help their families get by. He feels strongly about giving back to the community and has fostered some from his success. Their criteria for scholarships as award winners would be hardworking, involved in extracurricular activities, and have a financial need to move forward. Recently graduated seniors Cam Christ and Olivia Dalton were this year's recipients. Ken now lives in Santa Cruz, California with his wife Annie. They have 3 adult daughters, Erin, Olivia, and Samantha, all college graduates. Olivia just graduated from BC last year. Ken Grohe, class of 1985, for all your successes, past, present, and future. We induct you into the Rockland High School Academic Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That's great. Well, I think everyone starts out by saying stories that involve people in the audience. This is great. Mr. A. Scott McKinley, the last picture I had in high school was with you at my prom with Jim Reardon, and we'll talk about jobs in just a second, because I'm hiring. You got me the job at the post office because they called into the principal's office and said, give me the hardest working guy in the high school. I got that job. Thank you, A. Scott. Steve, I had no idea you were going to be here today, but tell Pete I said hi. I sat next to Pete in lunch many, many years. Quick story, Rockland story. Pete let his dad know that I wasn't taking the SAT test. What? Why? I didn't have the money. Mr. Weisgerber summoned me to the office and gave me a voucher to take the SAT test. That's pretty powerful. Thank you, Mr. Weisgerber. Thank you, family. Tell Pete I said hi. Mr. Damon, and no, we're not going to bring him up again because we can't wait that long. But Mr. Damon, thank you. Your dad took a big break on me, got me a job at Boston Whaler. For those who don't know it, Rockland was kind of like after that place. It was the place where like boats were made. Now it's a Home Depot. We went by it earlier today. What the hell happened to Boston Whaler? Unbelievable. And oh, sorry, I'd be remiss if the person who didn't nominate me I didn't acknowledge. The 11-time state championship coach for cheerleading, Janine Reardon. Thank you. Anyways, the last thing anybody needs is more PowerPoint slides. So, hopefully the video works. And this will be one of the best 10 days of my life because I wanted to be in the Hall of Fame so I could show this video because somewhere in there, 70 kids in here, some are just like me. They just need a ripple to change, something to put in the trajectory where you can make a lot of choices. So without further ado, I put together a video. Hope you like it.
High school graduation date. I wasn't worried about the ceremony. When I was announced to attend Boston College and have 100% of the costs covered, all I was thinking was, how do I get there? What do you even bring to live there? Even where is it? Maybe you're wondering some of the same things. It just doesn't matter. All you need to do is focus on impressing 2 people in your life. You might say, who are those two people? Your best friends? Your parents? Your classmates? Your significant other? Your spouse? No, it's your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self. You gotta commit to impressing and making yourself proud of your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self every hour of every day the rest of your life. I was the 8-year-old kid from Rockland who got a free lunch card and grew up in 104 Nevin Circle and then later 74 Church Street. Long before my family moved to Pembroke, I had moved in with my best friend back when I was 15 to Rockland Place, Martha Drive, apartment F. You might say, given that situation, how'd you get to Chestnut Hill for Boston College when you had no gas money? Well, I was the original Uber. What you did is you put out your thumb and you smiled and maybe get eye contact with someone driving the car. And I had a gym bag and I hitchhiked to BC. Trust me, it was really epic. There I was living in Rockland Place at 15 years old, making my 8-year-old self proud and living to give some accomplishments to when I'm 80. How did I support myself when I was 15? Well, I had saved some money from some massive paper routes I had done since I was 8 years old. I ran the blue light specials at Kmart. I was also a postman within Rockland. I worked at Little Peach and numerous gas stations. I bar backed at TGI Fridays not far away from here, and I worked at South Shore Liquors there in Union Street. I founded JBK Landscaping along with Jim Reardon and Bobby Witt. I had a Chevy Vega, a 1968 Dodge truck. Both of those I paid about $100 each for it. A Mercury Cougar, which was pretty fast. A Mercury Marquis I paid another $100 for, and a 1976 Bicentennial Blue Cadillac. Boston College took a picture of me right around graduation date at Boston College, and they used that picture for fundraising still to the day because I saw the roof off the Cadillac and put 22 of my friends in the back of it. Pretty cool. I did all this before I was 21 years old. The whole time I was playing sports, enjoying friends, and was in National Honor Society, which is really, really cool, and later actually went to Stanford for graduate school. I always stayed true to my 8-year-old passion of being an astronaut and being a closer. Basically be a member of the Red Sox where I actually close like a relief pitcher does for a game. Always be game ready. So it all led to one moment when I had decided to jump. I was in Hopkins, Massachusetts, working for EMC, playing darts on a Friday night. I got a job offer to move to Pittsburgh. And like Goodwill Hunting, I headed west. Got a map at the gas station, just headed out there. I jumped because it was an opportunity I had to jump for. If you're living 8 and 80, sometimes you just get to jump. You have to invest in making both versions of yourself proud simultaneously. At EMC, I was employee number 110. I stayed there for 25 years and I made almost 2,000 people rich, or I think is rich. Met my wife, Annie, by asking her to dance one night. I was out with 22 friends, and I'm so proud about our 3 daughters because they all graduated from honors from Cornell, UCLA, and Boston College. I created the saying that became a TED Talk. Everything I learned in business, I learned coaching youth soccer. I was at EMC when it IPO'd, and Barracuda as well when it IPO'd. Also, 2 of my companies sold. And I pioneered using ads in airports and ads on hockey boards. Pretty cool. I made Sign Now the #1 product in the world in 2016 for e-signature, really cool. And to support it, I created a national holiday. February 2nd is National Signing Day. It's the day when the national letter of intents are due to D1 schools. It's televised on ESPN still today. Why did I pick February 2nd? Well, Doug Flutie was 22. He was kind of my idol when I went to Boston College. I had 22 classmates in that Boston College Cadillac that I talked about in that BC picture. Bobby Orr wore number 4, which is really 2 + 2. If you ever watched Love Connection, they'd be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Plus, it's the same week that leads up to the Super Bowl, Groundhog Day, and my birthday's that week. My 8 and 80-year-old self cheered me on and kept being an entrepreneur, and I jumped from one to another to another. I created Lunchtime Friday and it has over 5,500 weekly subscribers. Hope you watch it. I posted on LinkedIn. I even ran the Boston Marathon in 4 hours, 14 minutes, and 57 seconds. And you guess it, I passed Boston College in mile 22. I do some stand-up comedy. I golf for fun at Paso Tiempo. I live on a beautiful beach in Santa Cruz, California, and we have a home in Disney in Florida as well. I help provide the storage for the internet. I help Google index the internet to run faster. I helped LinkedIn, the company, boost its adoption rate and mobile stickiness. I help keep the web safe at public schools with web filters at Barracuda. I help Zoom, with all you Zoom, get its first customers. In fact, I was the second customer after Stanford Business School. I helped Moderna and Pfizer get the vaccine out by working at a parallel file company. And I also help SpaceX and Tesla leverage AI today. Plus, I coined the theme, Great Resignation. You might have read about that. My latest video had over 100,000 views. And I'm proud, so proud, to post the 8 and 80-year-old version of myself, of giving out the Grohe Family Scholarship at Rockland High School, Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and Aurora, Ohio. My 8-year-old self sure is proud where I've come from, and I know my 8-year-old self will be so proud when I get there. You just gotta jump when you get the opportunity. I know this because I did it, I still do it, and I started exactly in the seats you are right now. Always stay true to my Rockland High School picture and my motto right below it. America needs less bull and more bulldog.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it. That's the debut of it. And you'll probably see it on LinkedIn on Friday, or a version of it. Hey, do me a favor. Just in closing, anybody who sat in the kids' seats up front, the students and graduation seniors, could you look below your seat, please? There might be something below your seat, a gift from me. Below your seat, there might be something stuck below there. You have to get up and move around. Could you look below that? It's just in the first few rows in here.
Oh, I see one.
Oh. What are they, everybody? Oh, the lottery tickets. Lottery tickets. Why the heck would I close with the graduating seniors getting lottery tickets under their seats? Well, I think I showed the theme that if you're curious and you can hustle and you get off your ass, you can make millions. So that's my theme for Rockland. Whatever you do, persevere. Go Bulldogs. Yes, I'm hiring.
Okay, that concludes our Hall of Fame program. We're going to take a brief intermission. Before you go, though, before we go, I do want to thank Seth and Bika for the media presentations. You know, and I know we were pretty lengthy tonight. We talked about 5 different people, and that's good. It's the first Hall of Fame since the pandemic started. But we figured the media presentations would help to spice it up a little bit, and now you got your lottery tickets, so what else can we give you? Okay, so brief intermission, and congratulations again to everybody.